Hello and welcome to the Sky Sports Golf Podcast presented by Callaway and presented this week from glorious Royal Cinque Ports as final qualifying for the 153rd Open takes place here. This is one of four venues today. Burnham and Barrow, West Lancs and Dundonald Links also hosting FQ, and this place, genuinely, hand on heart, is one of my favourite places in the world. Probably my favourite links course in England, incredibly friendly and welcoming as well. So it is just a delight to be here for today in glorious sunshine, I have to say. Coming up, we'll be hearing from some of the qualifiers who've made it to Royal Portrush in just a fortnight's time now, folks. And we've got what I have to say is a really great chat with two-time winner on the PGA Tour this season, one of the nicest men in golf, Ryan Fox. But we will start with a roundup of events from around the world of golf, and it was a weekend for first-time winners. The huge, and I really do mean huge, hitting Aldrich Pochiter came through a three-man playoff at the Rocket Classic in Detroit. Just 20 years of age. That win lifts him inside the world's top 50. A lot of people expecting big things from this man. You may remember he won the Amateur Championship at the age of 17 at Royal Lytham. Has been knocking on the door in the PGA Tour as well. And you may have well seen this on social media. This was quite nice as well. A lot of times when you win on the PGA Tour, you have to go and sort of toast the sponsors with a glass of champagne or a beer or a glass of wine. Aldrich Pochiter, because he's 20 years of age and not legally allowed to drink in the States, had to go and do all that with the sponsors, but had a glass of Diet Coke. I'm sure when he gets over here for the Scottish Open and for the Open Championship, he'll be able to have a Guinness and really celebrate that win in style. Adrian Sadier, on his 200th DP World Tour start, was the winner of the Italian Open, stood on the 10th tee, 3 shots behind his fellow countryman Martin Couvra, and then proceeded to play the next 7 holes in 5 under par. And a lot of you will probably have seen this, but when he spoke to Cat Downs, he was understandably incredibly emotional.
You finally have your win. So, how does it feel?
He's great. Yeah, he's great, sorry.
Don't apologise. Don't apologise. This is what it means.
So much work to do, be able to do this, and just grateful.
And I know you had pizza last night. You'll be celebrating tonight. The French players coming on to celebrate with you. I'm sure you've got lots of people who you'd want to thank to get you here, and I can see how emotional you are about the win.
Yeah, I mean, you have to start with the beginning. I have to thank my dad, because he took the decision to bring me at golf when I was 3. I have to thank my mum to let me play golf, and of course my wife. And it's great. It's great.
And with your win, you secure your place at the Open at Portrush. What does that mean to you?
I have to cancel my flight for the US for the Barracuda. But yeah, it's great. I mean, it will be a nice event. I'm sure my parents, maybe my wife will come, so it will be nice.
That really is what it is all about. Congratulations to him. And with that win, he also qualifies for the Open at Royal Portrush, as does young Martin Couvra, himself a winner on the European swing of the DP World Tour already. And some interesting comparisons actually made between his swing and that of Rory McIlroy on the coverage over the weekend. High praise indeed. Somi Lee and Jinhee Im were the winners of the Dow Championship on the LPGA Tour. Again, first-time winners. They beat Megan Kang and Lexi Thompson in a playoff. It would have been Lexi's first win in 6 years, but not to be. And the Senior Open was won by the legend that is Padraig Harrington. Just a few weeks on from having him on the pod and him admitting how it hadn't been the best of seasons for him so far. They hadn't had his best stuff so far this season. He's won his second Senior US Open. He had a one-shot lead over Stuart Cinque going up the last, stuffed his approach into the last. Cinque couldn't respond, could only 2-putt on the 18th green. So congrats to Padraig, who we will see in Portrush as, of course, a past Open champion. Likewise, Stuart Cinque, indeed. And everyone here today at Deal, as well as all of those at Dundonald, West Lancs and Burnham and Barrow, will be hoping to join both of those men there. Right, let's get to a chat I had last week with Ryan Fox. He literally just got back to his base in Florida after 4 weeks on the road with 2 small kids in tow. So understandably, he was fairly exhausted.
Foxy, been a fairly relentless few weeks. Just how are you feeling right now? Sort of exhausted, I would imagine, is the main word.
Yeah. I mean, it's been an incredible, let's say 6 weeks. Obviously coming off the win in Myrtle Beach, played my way into the PGA, literally last man in the field. had a week off in the middle there, which was kind of nice just to decompress. And then, was not lucky to get in Memorial, and then Canada got me, obviously the win in Canada, then that got me in the US Open last minute, and then also got me in Travellers as well, or locked me into Travellers. I was kind of on the edge there, and it's been just a crazy last 6 weeks. And then just to top it off, had a little bit of a stomach bug last week, which seemed to run through most of the tour and the childcare and everything like that. I probably ended up better than some of the guys, but that was a nice way to finish off a pretty tough 6 week stretch. So I'm quite happy to have a couple of weeks off now. That's for sure.
Just need to curl up and lie in a darkened room for 48 hours or something.
I've got 2 young kids. I'm not allowed to do that though.
No, exactly. We've all been there. Are you having to pinch yourself at just how well this year's gone? That you're playing the golf of your life at the age of 38?
Yeah, I still don't quite know what's gone on the last 6 weeks, to be honest. It's not just winning twice, but sort of the way it happened as well. I had 2 pretty unbelievable shots in 2 playoffs to get the job done. I don't really know what to think. It's dreams come true. It's literally a life-changing 6 week period, and it kind of came from nothing to an extent. Like, I didn't have a whole lot of form. I was pretty scratchy the first third of the year or half of the year, whatever it is over here, and then something started to feel good at Myrtle, and I've just kind of rode the wave. And even the weeks, Memorial, Travellers, US Open, they were still really solid weeks in between everything else that went on. Exactly. Some top 20, couple of top 25s, that kind of stuff. And it's been crazy, to be honest. And I probably won't sink in properly till I actually get back home to New Zealand and get to celebrate with friends and family. I think that's when it'll kind of sink in that holy crap, this year's been what it has, and I've still got a whole lot to look forward to golf wise this year. So I think when it all kind of settles down and it's all done, that's when it'll properly sink in. And it's just been crazy.
And it's funny, I was thinking after Canada of the parallels between yourself and Bob MacIntyre. He was Canadian Open champion last year, and you were Canadian Open champion this year. And I think for both of you, you found the first year stateside, your boys that, are real homebirds and are very sort of proud of where you come from. And you find that adjustment going from the really sort of friendly camaraderie of the DP World Tour to over there, a difficult adjustment. Bob got that breakthrough win within 4 weeks. He gets another win. And it's kind of been exactly the same for you. And interestingly, I've spoken to Bob about this as well. He credits you a lot with being able to win in Canada last year, having a good pal alongside him on that final day to sort of help him get over the line.
Yeah. Obviously, my timeline's probably a year behind where Bob is. I think last year I struggled, but gained a lot from just keeping my status over here. And did it, even though it was 118, I did it fairly comfortably in the end. I skipped the last 3 weeks of the year with a hip injury, and just started to feel like I belonged a little bit more. We made some changes this year coming over here. We're actually based in the US. I'm sitting in a rental house in Florida right now, which we've had since early February, and that's just made everything a little bit easier. And I think it takes a little bit more to belong over here, whatever it is. I think the camaraderie is a little different than the DP World Tour. That's also just being new on tour as well. Just how the tour is set up a little bit. You get a car every week. Everyone goes and stays their own places, houses or hotels or whatever. Whereas the DP World Tour for a lot of the time feels a bit more centralized. Kind of everyone stays in the same place or a tournament hotel, and it's a bit easier to be social. But it's sort of started to feel a bit more comfortable out here this year. The results didn't show, and then all of a sudden, bang, 2 and 4 or 5 weeks or whatever it was. And I think just like Bob, I think after Myrtle Beach, when I felt like I could compete out here properly, not just tried to trick myself into it, everything just became a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Stuff didn't, whether that's having winners category and, you've got job security and you can just go out and the bad shots don't matter as much or whatever. I felt a whole lot more comfortable coming down the stretch in Canada, having a chance to win the tournament than I did at Myrtle Beach. And that was a really good place to be. I'm sure Bob probably said the same thing in Scotland when he was coming down the stretch. Canada probably made that a whole lot easier. And, it's, I think too, an extra year out here, getting to know guys a bit better. We've got a pretty good group of, I want to say Europeans, even though I'm not European.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, but you're
like
sort of
from the deep,
an
from
honorary
the DP World
European.
Tour.
Yeah,
like we tend to hang out together. It's getting a bit more social in that respect. Just hanging out in the players' lounge, and like our wives and girlfriends tend to hang out, earlier on in the week and stuff like that. So we've tried to band together a little bit this year, or the last couple of years over there, and I think that's actually working. And a lot of guys are starting to play really, really well.
Yeah, aren't they just? Let's get to Myrtle Beach. When you hole out in a playoff to win, do you kind of just black out when something like that happens?
Yeah, that was like the whole back nine there was kind of strange. I always felt like I was one shy in the tournament. Like I felt like I needed one more birdie to kind of have a chance to win, and I was always short. And then, Mac Hughes bogeyed the last to get me in a playoff, and all of a sudden, I hit it in the crap off the tee and hit it back edge of the green. And I'm just trying to give myself a chance with the chip. Figure one of those guys is going to make it, and all of a sudden, 10 foot out, that chip never looks like it's going anywhere else.
Yeah.
And I'm just standing there looking at my caddy and going, what the hell's going on here? And even at that point, you expect someone to make a putt, right? Like we're talking before we started, like strange stuff happens in a playoff. I've been on the receiving end of it a couple of times. Like, statistically, guys holding putts, or guys doing stuff that they shouldn't do. And that tends to happen more often in playoff. And I was the other side of it for Myrtle Beach. I think I hadn't chipped in very often this year, and I chipped in there to win a tournament. And, when Mac missed that putt for birdie, it was like, oh, well, what just happened? Like, what's going on? It was a very surreal feeling. And my wife didn't even know I'd won. She was picking up the kids from childcare. She had to take them to the toilet before coming back to the 18th green. And as she was walking up to the green, one of the other players, Mark Hubbard, comes down. He goes, oh, congrats, Foxy's won. She's like, what's just happened? She missed the whole thing. Like it literally felt like it happened that quick. And it was that quick in the moment as well. It was nuts.
It wasn't quick in Canada. It felt like that playoff was never going to end. But you've spoken about the belief that you got from Myrtle Beach, and what was so impressive to me in Canada was it wasn't quite happening for you. You stayed patient, and basically those last 5 holes, barring what I have to say was a rank birdie attempt at the 17th, barring that putt, it was every shot was executed to perfection, and that must give you so much joy, especially and the putt you hold to get into the playoff on the 18th as well.
Yeah, I mean, like as I said, it just felt easier in Canada, like coming down the stretch. Like I wasn't playing for anything other than trying to win a tournament, which when you can get rid of all that external stuff, worried about FedEx Cup points and keeping a card and all the other crap associated with it, I was very clear coming down the stretch. Obviously, I knew I was playing well as well. That does help add a lot of confidence in my game. And it was a scratchy start. I kind of hit some really good shots through the middle and didn't take advantage of it. And then I hold a putt on, was it 14?
Yeah.
And then it was like, okay, I've got a chance. I've actually got a chance. Like if I think I've missed that one on 14, I probably needed 3 in the last 4 holes. And 16, 17 were tough holes, and all of a sudden, birdie 14, hit that one close on 15, played 16 exactly how I wanted to, almost made that putt. If I hadn't hit the 3-wood in the playoff on 18, that second shot into 17 would have been the best shot I hit all week. Like that was exactly what I wanted to do. Obviously, the putt was horrific. A good
forgive you that.
combination, a good combination of a misread and a pull, which never looks like it's going to go in. And then, but at least I made up for it on the last.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
knew I needed to make birdie. I had a great tee shot. Was just a little bit too far to go at. And to be honest, in regulation, there was a little bit going, well, I know I will get myself in the US Open as long as I don't stuff if I don't make 6, I'm fine.
Yeah.
So there was a little bit of, okay, lay it up. I'm going to give myself a birdie chance regardless. And worst case scenario, I might finish tied second or whatever, and that's still going to get me in the US Open, which will be a great week. And I did what I wanted to. I thought I hit the wedge shot a little closer than I did. It didn't spin back down the slope, and then that putt hung on, but I hit a pretty good putt in the playoff to get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
And then the first 3 holes of a playoff, Sam and I both let each other off there.
Well, look, the very first hole of the playoff, you've got the best putter on the PGA Tour standing over a 6-footer to win it. How powerless do you feel in that scenario? You almost cap off ready to shake hands.
I'd given him that. I mean,
yeah.
I was like, okay, I gave it a run. I made the putt to get in the playoff. That's cool. I'm going to US Open next week. It's been an awesome week, awesome little stretch. And then all of a sudden he misses it. You're like, okay, we got to go again. And I think, to be honest, that probably shocked both of us a little bit.
Yeah.
Like it probably took a couple of holes for both of us to figure out what
it was for some fairly average golf for the next half hour.
And I took a chance. The second playoff hole, hit a terrible wedge shot. I had a terrible second shot, and then I had a bad putt that second playoff hole. We both played the third playoff hole terribly. And to be honest, changing the pin probably changed the whole aspect of the hole. It became the back pin was an easy wedge shot and pretty hard to go at. And the front pin was a really tough wedge shot. You could make 6 really easy with a wedge shot. If you were a yard short or a little bit right or whatever, it spun too much. And it was a bit of an easier shot to go at because it was 10 yards shorter. And if you got it up near the green, you felt like you could give yourself a better birdie putt than you could with a wedge. And then obviously, the fourth playoff hole, I probably hit the best shot I've ever hit with that 3-wood and put the pressure on Sam, and he let me off a little bit there with ramming his putt. But I also get, if I was in his situation there, I'd probably assume
give it a go. Yeah,
I'd assume that he's going to make that, and I've got to give my putt a go. And it was a quick putt, and I was very happy to be able to lag that little 6.5-footer down there. And I would have liked to not have to mark the one coming back, but at least I wasn't too stressed out about the next one. And it was, then it all just became a blur after that, kind of thinking what the hell has happened the last 6 weeks. Basically, it was, one PGA Tour win was a dream. 2, especially an event of that stature, within 5 weeks of each other or whatever it was, is can't really describe that.
I thought it was fitting that you won in Canada because, go with me in this one, I see similarities between Canadians and Kiwis. You're kind of the quiet, unreserved, under the radar ones next to the loud, brash, in your face, big neighbours next door. So there are sort of similarities between Canada and New Zealand.
Yeah, there are. There's definitely, the Canadian fans were great. I felt like an honorary Canadian coming down the stretch, whether that was the pull of, hey, we've got a non-American versus an American, whether it was just purely that. There were quite a lot of Kiwis in the crowd. The New Zealand football team, the All Whites were there watching all day, which was cool. Chris Wood, and that was cool to have their support. But there is definitely some similarities there. I know what country you're thinking about with the brashness from our end of the world.
You could say the same with the Irish. You could say this, we're the little unassuming ones next door to the big neighbours as well. So
that's probably true. But I don't know. Both years I've played the Canadian Open. I've played really good on 2 different golf courses. Whether it's I felt comfortable up there, it's felt a little bit more like home in terms of culture, in terms of maybe the golf courses and the grasses we've played up there as well. Like it tends to not be as grainy. A lot of power, which I grew up on. And it's just Canada feels closer to New Zealand than America does. I don't know, but
no, I get it.
Whatever it was, I'm not complaining. I'll take whatever little help I can get to play well, and it obviously helped out that week.
And you touched upon this a little bit earlier. Do you believe in karma at all? Because you'd been in 2 European Tour playoffs, and I remember Russell Knox holding a monster putt in Ballyliffin against you.
Yep.
It happened in Holland as well. Victor Perez, I think it was one in Holland, was it?
Yep.
So do you believe in sort of karma? You've lost 2 playoffs, and now you've got your own back. You've won 2 playoffs back to back.
For whatever reason, you're freed up a little bit in a playoff, and people hold putts. And same thing happens to get in a playoff when you know, well, I can't finish worse than second. I've got to give this putt a go. Like it just, weird stuff happens, and I've been on the receiving end, and I've also now been the one giving it out. It's karma's probably worked in that respect, but it's just, I think in the end, you play golf long enough, you get a bunch of stuff that goes in your favor, and you get a bunch of stuff that goes for you. And I've been lucky and unlucky in at the pointy end of tournaments, and I think from what's just happened in the last month, I've probably come out a little bit on the lucky side. The scales have tipped a little bit in my favor, so I'm not complaining.
You make your own luck in this game. It also won't be lost on you or anybody that you've won the last 2 tournaments preceding a major championship as well. So am I putting the house on Ryan Fox for the Scottish Open?
I don't know. I haven't had a great record at Renaissance, even though I love links golf. For whatever reason, I think maybe had one top 25 there, and played every year the tournament's been there. So I don't know. It's
you'd much rather
we're also playing links golf, and I could get the bad side of the draw and have no chance of making the cut. So we'll see. But I think the tough thing was I wasn't in the field for both of those majors before winning. So at least I know I'm in the Open now. Right. So I don't have to stress about changing plans if I do something crazy on a Sunday and get myself into the Open the following week. So I can actually plan for 2 weeks of links golf, which will be nice, and I can't wait for Portrush either. I mean, that's one I think that might be my favorite golf course in the world.
Oh, listen, I can't wait either, as you can imagine. Just going through way back, not everybody is a Rory McIlroy or Jordan Spieth and bursts onto the scene at the age of 21. You were a late bloomer. When did sort of golf become the sole focus?
I mean, I always played golf growing up, but rugby and cricket were my 2 main sports. I played a bit of tennis as well. And I started a law degree at Auckland University at 18. At that stage, I decided I'd give up cricket and rugby for various reasons. And I wanted to do something competitive, and I played off 2. Like I could play golf. I've obviously got some pretty good hand-eye coordination running through my family. And my dad played golf. I always played golf with him growing up. But I just thought I'll do some practice, get a coach, see if I like playing tournament golf. And I played one tournament, and probably I think it was June or July, I'm going to say 2005, and that was me done. I loved it. And didn't get through first year law kind of intentionally. I wasn't interested in that. And then did a full second year of university, and then decided after that I really wanted to give golf a go. My parents decided that I still had to carry on and finish my uni degree. So I turned a 3-year degree into a 4-year degree, did part-time my last 2 years. That's when I made the New Zealand squad, and golf was what I wanted to give a go from there. And then I turned pro at the end of 2011. So I had a couple of really solid years of full-time amateur golf there, playing for New Zealand. I played a bunch of events in the US and stuff like that as an amateur, and got through the Aussie Tour Q School at the end of 2011 and played my first PGA Tour, first tour event in 2012 as a 25-year-old. So I've had a different journey than a lot of guys on tour, especially, you see the guys coming out on PGA Tour now through PGA Tour U, they've been wanting to do this since they were probably 8 years old, and all of them are so good coming straight out. It's crazy. But, I couldn't dream, when I first started taking golf seriously, that I'd get to this level that I'm at now.
You say your first tournament was perhaps June 2005. It was around about exactly the same time that Michael Campbell was winning the US Open at Pinehurst. Did that have an impact on you?
Definitely. I mean, our whole country stopped when
Yeah.
Campbell won that US Open. I loved golf at that point. Like, I used to watch golf religiously. I played, like, junior pennants and stuff for our club, but it was
Yeah.
never serious. It was, I got a rugby game on Saturday. I'll turn up on Sunday. Something's going to hurt, and I'll see if I can, shoot 75 and might scratch a win or something like that. It was never serious. And 2005 was when I started taking it seriously. And I think Cambo winning definitely had a bit to do with that. And I was lucky early on in my career, through Dad. Dad knew Cambo well enough that I actually got to sit down and chat to Cambo. Not that long after that win, maybe a year or so, and I was like a kid in a candy store at that point. Just looking up to an idol, kind of Googling and going, "Whoa, this is amazing!" And actually, after half an hour or so, I could actually feel like I could ask him some questions about what it was like down the stretch, taking on Tiger and stuff like that. And he was awesome, and he was pretty helpful early on in my career with that kind of stuff as well. I got to know him pretty well and have seen him around in Europe a bunch of times as well. And it's great to see him back playing again after
he's
a pretty tough period. And he's awesome. He is great and did
I'll tell you where I was pretty much as he holed that winning putt at Pinehurst. I had just touched down at Christchurch Airport because I just finished my law degree. Funny enough, it's another thing we've got in common. And I was going out to the Lions tour, and I just touched down in Christchurch, and we were about to start driving the length of the South Island to get to Invercargill to watch the Southlands game, which is, even as an Irishman, that is the coldest I've ever been in my life.
Yep, it is pretty brutal down there.
So there you go. I was on New Zealand soil when
I mean, it literally stopped the country. I remember I was at uni at that point, and I did not go to class on Monday. It was, it was amazing.
You touched upon the sort of hand-eye coordination, which is obviously in the genes. Do you think sort of performing under pressure is something that is in the genes or something you've learned from your old man?
I mean, I have no idea if there's a genetic component to it at all, but I did learn a lot from Dad growing up. He caddied for me a lot when I was coming through golf. He coached every rugby team that I ever was part of. Even as just a little assistant role or something. So, that was pretty cool. I was playing first 15 rugby at King's College, and he was our assistant coach while he was also assistant coach of the Blues. So we had some pretty good knowledge there, and he was always my goal kicking coach as well. I never obviously I didn't help myself. I played the same position. I tried to kick goals as well, and I was never ever going to live up to that name. But the idea of the routine process, like the breathing stuff, I got the psychology of it without hearing it from a psychologist, basically. Dad, I used to get the how the hell does a +4 handicapper hit that shot. Dad didn't quite work that out quickly, but he always was really good under pressure, and he was very calm. Obviously, he kicked a lot of goals to win matches, and I think there's a lot of parallels in that. Rugby's not similar when the ball's in play, but in terms of standing there, that rugby ball's not moving on the tee. You've got to visualize it and do everything yourself, and you theoretically can control everything that's going on. There's a lot of similarities in that, and Dad was very, very helpful there, and I learned a lot through osmosis and a lot through him telling me stuff. Probably a lot through him yelling at me and telling me you're doing this wrong. And as a teenage boy, kind of, don't worry about that. I don't care. And then it gets in there eventually. You're like, oh, actually, he was right. Damn it. So, I was definitely blessed, lucky, whatever you want to call it, in that space growing up. And I also had access to a lot of people that I wouldn't have had otherwise. Like guys like John Kerwin, who, he's been a huge advocate for mental health around men's mental health. But he went through depression, and while he was playing, and got to have a chat to him about how we dealt with that kind of stuff when I've gone through a couple of tough periods. Got to sit down with Steve Hansen a few times and go through what he did with the All Blacks, and that was when Dad was a selector, and some of the stuff that he did was amazing. How they used to deal with pressure, and like he used a term like redheads and blueheads, and redheads are angry and impulsive, and blueheads are calm, collected, make the right decisions. And there was lots of stuff like that I got through Dad that, as I said, I wouldn't have got otherwise. So I was very lucky growing up in that respect.
Are we at the stage yet where he's walking about and he gets referred to as Ryan Fox's dad rather than you being Grant Fox's boy?
It's definitely close now, I reckon. maybe just because he's 30 odd years out of playing for the All Blacks, and a lot of the current generation don't really remember. But yeah, it's definitely getting close. I know he's getting asked for a whole lot more signed stuff from me than he's had to sign lately, at least.
Wow. Probably equally the proudest and saddest moment of his life, that when his son finally steps out of his shadow and usurps him. But
I don't think there's any sadness to it. I think he's pretty proud, and he never pushed me into anything growing up. Like, I wanted to play sport. I always wanted to be a sportsman. I didn't have a clue what sport it was going to be for quite a long time, obviously, but I just never saw myself doing anything else. I love sport. I still love watching sport, cricket, rugby, tennis. I've unfortunately started to watch a few American sports now as well. Starting to get into them. You don't really have a choice when you're over here. They don't like our traditional sports that the Commonwealth play. So yeah, it's
many times I've tried explaining cricket to Americans,
they don't get it.
I just give up after a while.
Yeah. So yeah, I Dad always just wanted me to be the best I could be at whatever I chose to be. And, I feel like I might have accomplished that now. Well, getting close to accomplishing that now.
I think you're doing pretty well. And look, 2-time winner of the PGA Tour this year. But before that, you've done some pretty cool things as well. When you win at iconic venues like Wentworth, like St Andrews, are you able to appreciate that in the time, or will it be in a few years when you sort of sit back and think, yeah, that's pretty cool? I mean, there's basically two of the most famous golf courses in the world. I've won around them both. Yeah,
I mean, I've had enough time to process them. You definitely get the feel of something special coming down St Andrews. That might be the most intimidating golf course to come down the stretch at with a lead, just because one side of the golf course is absolutely fine and the other side is just pure death. Like that 17th hole with a lead just sucks completely, but you still feel like, well, we're at St Andrews, this is really cool. And you get whisked like straight after with the trophy sitting on the Swilcan Bridge and everything like that. So you get the whole thing of like, wow, this is just amazing. And it's not an open championship, but hey, I can say when I finished my career, I won a tournament at St Andrews. Like that's pretty hard to beat. And obviously Wentworth, that's such an iconic event on the DP World Tour. And I probably didn't realize how well respected that event was worldwide until I actually came over here. Like, it's huge in Europe, but the amount of questions you get around Wentworth over here, like, oh, what's the golf course like? That looks like such an awesome event. I'd love to come and play it. And you when you're playing it that it's a big event, but you feel a little bit like, it's just in the UK or whatever, but it's so respected worldwide, and I've probably got a greater appreciation of it now. And that was probably never a golf course I felt like I'd compete around. I think I'd had one top 20 there in like 7 attempts before winning. But yeah, like to turn up the year after in 24 and see my face plastered all over the back of that 18 grand. That's when it comes to, you're like, oh man, okay, this is actually that actually did happen. That was pretty cool. And like I think the Canadian Open Trophy is kind of the same as that. You look at the names that are on that, and you're like, wow, there is. Dunhill's the same, but I think the first name I saw when I looked at the Wentworth Trophy was Arnold Palmer. And you're like, okay. Yeah, that's
not bad.
If I'm on a trophy that Arnold Palmer's on, I must have done something right. It's pretty cool to have that as a little bit of golf history.
Just to sort of push ahead to this summer, big summer coming up, and you've already sort of said how much you love Royal Portrush. You must be licking your lips to get back there. You did well there in 2019.
Yeah, I had a backdoor top 20. I shot 2 under on Sunday in that horrific weather, and um,
Yeah.
made up a lot of spots in the clubhouse while I was having a glass of wine. Um, yeah, I think I'm really looking forward to that. It's just one of my, as I said, one of my favorite golf courses anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, the place has got a cool vibe about it. I thought that, we played a few times up there, Irish Open at Port Stewart, um, the Open at Portrush. The crowds are amazing.
Yeah.
Looking forward to heading back. I love that style of golf
Yeah.
as well. I love the creativity needed, the imagination needed to play links golf. There's no right or wrong shot to hit. You can kind of, for the most part, do whatever you want. Obviously, you get the other side of it where you could get the wrong side of the draw and happen to play in 50-mile-an-hour winds while the other side gets flat, calm conditions. But that's kind of the beauty of links golf as well. You just never know what you're going to get, and I'm looking forward to that. Plus, getting out of 30-something degrees and humid in Florida for a few weeks is going to be real nice.
Don't know what you're talking about. It's always 30 degrees and sun shining in Northern Ireland.
Well, I actually heard it's pretty good up there at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, I imagine it is. I always think of you as someone that plays well in Ireland, actually, because we've spoken about, being runner-up in Ballyliffin. You won at Galgorm Castle on the Challenge Tour, didn't you?
Yeah.
I know that's not links golf, but and where was it where you had a hole in 3, the most spectacular hole in 3?
That was Dundonald, and it's Scottish.
Oh, that was in Scotland. Okay, yeah.
But I feel like I've had almost every place you can have at the Irish Open without winning. Obviously lost in a playoff. I think I finished second at the Mount Juliet, finished third at the K Club. Didn't play so well at
Ireland feeling basically like the closest thing to New Zealand outside of New Zealand. Is that what way you feel?
If you take out the weather, yeah, definitely. I mean, our weather's not renowned for being real good, but
I've just told you that Invercargill's the most grim place I've ever been on the planet.
I'm from the north. Our weather's generally a little bit better than Invercargill, but I don't know. It does feel like the people are great. I love the style of golf up there. Yeah. It's going to be nice going back to people appreciating golf shots. I think that's the great thing about not just Ireland, Northern Ireland, the whole UK. You can go out there and hit a 5-iron 40 feet with the pin tucked behind a bunker, and you get that nice little that was the shot he was trying to hit. I like the little clap like that, not the loud cheers or someone yelling some obscenity at you from 50 yards. Right. It's just cool to play in front of those fans and that style of golf, and having pubs and
that was my next question.
Rugby and all of that stuff.
Crucially, do you enjoy a pint of Guinness? Was going to be my next question.
Enough. I'm more a red wine man, so don't hold that against me. But we're going to head up. I'm heading up next week. Actually, we've got a week in Florida, and we're going to head up to Portrush a little early. Hopefully, get a practice round around there before the Scottish Open, and just enjoy the surroundings up there. Go have a look at Giant's Causeway and stuff like that. I've played a bit of golf up there, but never actually seen much of it outside of the golf courses. So going to take the family up there and have a bit of fun and have a bit of a holiday. I feel like we've kind of earned one at the moment.
I love that. I love that you say that you've earned a holiday, and then you're going to get battered by sideways wind and rain for a week straight at Royal Portrush. But
yeah, but that's kind of fun too. If it was every week, you'd get a little frustrated. But hey, it's an Open Championship. I think that's what everyone wants to see. Well, maybe not the people that are there, but everyone on TV wants to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. We loved seeing you guys get kicked in the teeth in Oakmont, and we want to see more of the same at Royal Portrush for sure.
No, I don't need to see Oakmont for a while. That place is amazing, but man, it's hard.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, Foxy, thanks so much for your time. I really enjoyed the chat. Looking forward to seeing you at Royal Portrush, and whether it's a glass of red or a pint of Guinness, we'll make sure we have a drink that week.
Thanks, Jamie. Thanks for having me, mate. Pleasure.
Welcome back to the Sky Sports Golf Podcast presented by Callaway, and welcome back to Royal Cinque Ports, where we are today for final qualifying, one of 4 venues hosting final qualifying for the Open Championship, which is just a couple of weeks away now. Let's hear from the qualifiers here today, starting with the man who topped qualifying, Dean Burmester.
I just love this golf course, honestly. I've been coming here, I've got a really good friend who's got a house close by, and I've been coming here for quite a few years, and came down for weekends with the family and stuff like that when we used to live in London. So yeah, I just love it here. And when the wind came up, I kind of thought, well, I've played it enough in the wind to kind of know what to expect. And then it sort of shifted a little more out the side. It wasn't its normal kind of straight in on that back nine, which made it a little easier. So yeah, I played absolutely phenomenal golf.
You clearly enjoy links golf because you've got a decent open record as well. You were right in the mix at the halfway stage last year at Troon, and I think 3 years ago at St Andrews had a great weekend to storm up the leaderboard as well.
Yeah, I do. I love links golf. I think it's the truest form of golf. It's the most fun to play for sure. A couple of tee shots I hit today look like they're in the middle of the fairway, and you get there and it's on a side slope, and now you've got to fight a wind or fight something. There's always something going on, and that's what makes it truly special, And yeah, the views are no joke around here either. I mean, it's just a day like this just makes it special.
The views are pretty spectacular at Royal Portrush as well. Have you been there before?
I haven't. I know I'll have to lean on Shane, and hopefully I can get into his ear a little bit to hear, get a few tips. But yeah, it looked amazing when I watched it a few years ago, so I'm looking forward to going up there, and I know how special it is, so it's exciting.
As a man from that part of the world, I can't promise you'll get the same weather at Royal Portrush for 4 days straight.
I'm definitely packing my waterproofs, let's put it that way. So we'll have to wait and see. I mean, you never know what it holds. I mean, last year at Troon, that Saturday afternoon was probably some of the toughest weather I've ever played in, and I watched Scotty Scheffler just flush it for a whole day. So I learned something from that, and it was cool, and hopefully it pays dividends if I get up there to Portrush.
Well, congratulations, well played today, and we will be seeing you at Royal Portrush. Well played, team.
Cheers, mate. Can't wait to get there.
Seb Cave, heading to the Open Championship.
I know.
That must just be the best feeling.
Sounds crazy to think about it, but I actually spoke to Dad about 2 weeks ago. I just missed 2 cuts on the amateur circuit, but felt like my game was like trending, having played the British Am here. And I said, I think I've got a chance. If I can get my game and the driver going, I think I've got a good chance. And yeah, it's mental to think that I'm going to be playing something that has been, like I said, a dream since growing up. I mean, any major's great, but to play the Open and go and do that, it's definitely made my summer a little nicer, or a lot nicer.
Yeah. With, 5 or 6 holes to go of your second round, were you refreshing the phone and sort of checking where you were in the scores, or were you just head down and plug away?
Actually, I just played away. I think when it's this windy, you just never know what's going to happen. Yeah. And I mean, to finish the way I finished, I kind of felt like it was written in the stars that I was gonna make it. For
those who don't know, eagle birdie.
Yeah, and I just left my birdie put short on 18. But to finish the way I finished, I think even if I just missed out, I think I would have been happy to go on to my next amateur event, which I will not now be playing because of the Open. So yeah, I'm just proud of myself and just and over the moon to be playing a major.
How many times have you watched the Open Championship and dreamt of being there?
Too many. Yeah. Too many sleepless nights about wanting to play it, and too many hours working hard to get there. So yeah, it's going to be a good experience.
Ever been to Royal Portrush?
I've actually not. No, it's one of the only open venues I've never been to. So I'll get there early and have a bash at it and see what we can do.
You're in for a treat. I mean, I'm biased, but it's the best in the Open Road.
I've heard that as well from other people. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It'll be good.
Well done, Seb.
So, thanks a lot.
Nathan Kimsey, 12 years a professional and now playing your first major. That must sound incredible.
Yeah. I don't know if I've got any words for that right now. That was a stressful day, stressful back nine. Pretty scrappy, but managed to get it done. And first major, just buzzing, really looking forward to it.
You almost sort of chuckled in disbelief as your chip hit the pin on the 18th there.
Yeah, I know. Just been scrapping it around the back nine, just trying to cling on in that wind, and then just kind of obviously overhit it a little bit, but luckily just smashed into the flagstick to tap in range, and I could thankfully just tap that one in and get in the clubhouse and get finished.
How many Open Championships have you watched and dreamt of being there yourself?
Oh, I mean, everyone since I was probably about 5 or 6 years old. Yeah, so watch it every year. Love tuning in and watching it, and to say I'll be actually there playing this year would be pretty cool.
And there's a pretty cool story here as well, because your girlfriend Lauren is also a professional golfer and won the British Amateur at Royal Portrush.
Yeah, she did. So I'll be definitely tapping her up for some tips and some advice in the next couple of weeks before we go. But that's pretty special that get to sort of share some memories and experiences together. So it'll be cool.
Have you been there yourself?
I've never been there. Never kind of played the Irish Open at Port Stewart next door one year, and then never been to Portrush itself. So looking forward to it.
Well, it's a good person to have in your corner for some tips.
Definitely, 100%.
Curtis Snipes, there's something about Royal Portrush. Your second Open and your second one there.
Yeah, I can't even speak, to be honest. trying to hold it in, not break down. You know, it's been 6 years since I was back there. I've had a tough 18 months and tried so hard to just get my game back and feel like I'm back to myself.
What was it like coming down the stretch? So were you aware of where you sort of sat in the mix?
Scooby, actually, I didn't even look. To be honest, I thought obviously it was tough this afternoon, so I knew the scores wouldn't be as deep. Didn't think I'd be in second. I think I was at some point. I didn't really want to know. I just wanted to finish strong. Like I knew if I pick up a few, like I'll have a chance. Probably made. I mean, I missed it on 18 anyway, but probably made that part a little easier. But yeah, if I knew, I would have celebrated a bit more because I looked a bit dull on the 18th. But yeah, I didn't know, so thought that'd be for the best.
I can see how much it means to you. You were the youngest man in the field in 2019 at Royal Portrush, so we're 6 years on. There's a little bit more golf under the belt since then, but
It certainly is, yeah.
What have those last 6 years been like?
Yeah, it's taught me a lot. I mean, I turned pro the year after, and you know, I don't think anyone said this career is easy, but you know, it's the best life in the world, but it's tough. You know, it's so cutthroat, and you know, I don't regret turning pro when I did, and I've learned so much over the last few years, and especially last season. You know, I couldn't hit a golf course; it was pretty bad, and you know, I've had some people stuck by me and, you know, keep supporting me. So, yeah, they've helped me out. They've been massive.
And I suppose it's one of those things when you're at Portrush 6 years ago, when you're 18, you sort of feel invincible and you think that you can take on the world. And you probably didn't know what was around the corner then?
Yeah, probably a little bit naive, to be fair. Probably a little bit, definitely. I mean, you wouldn't have thought that on the first tee. I've never been so nervous in my life. So, kind of dreading reliving that moment, but also excited at the same time.
What's it going to be like to be back there? What are your memories of 2019?
Rough's pretty thick. Stay out of the rough. Oh God, yeah, it was a great week. I'll have to meditate on it a little bit. I'm a bit frazzled, but it should be so much fun.
Congratulations. We'll look forward to seeing you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Congrats to all the qualifiers here at Deal today. Elsewhere, well, Lee Westwood top qualifying at Dundonald Links. What a story. So many times he's been close to winning that claret jug. He is heading back to the Open Championship. That is just fantastic to see. Harry Hall was one of the qualifiers at Burnham and Barrow, the Cornishman who's already won on the PGA Tour. And at West Lancs, qualifying was topped by the Australian Lucas Herbert. So congrats to all of those and all the other qualifiers. Now for some of the news around the world of golf over this last week. Sergio Garcia has qualified for the Open by nabbing the spot available on Live. Congratulations to him. Some sad news. This Eddie Pepperell was leading the Vaudreuil Challenge on the Hotel Planner Tour through 3 rounds, but was then forced to withdraw with a back injury. Just desperately unfortunate for Ed. But he did give a fantastic interview on Saturday after his 3rd round, which included 9 birdies, by the way. And you could hear just how happy he is with the way he's playing at the moment, how he's falling back in love with the game again, and hopefully good things around the corner for Eddie. Congrats, by the way, to David Horsey, another of the game's good guys, who did win that event. This week on the PGA Tour, we have the John Deere Classic. On the DP World Tour, it's the BMW International Open in Munich. That's the final event of the European Swing. And it's a break for the ladies on the LPGA Tour. They have their next major, the Evian Championship, next week, but they get a week off this week. That about does us for today. A huge thank you to Royal Cinque Ports for hosting us today in glorious sunshine. I'm very excited to be back down here, not once, but twice later this summer to play this amazing golf course. Congratulations to all the guys who managed to qualify here today, as well as indeed to all the guys who qualified at Dundonald, at West Lancs and at Burnham and Barrow as well. We look forward to seeing them at Royal Portrush, which really is just around the corner now. If you've liked what you've heard or watched today, make sure to give us a follow on Apple or Spotify, wherever you get your pods. While there, please do leave us a review and let us know what you think of the show. Thank you again to Callaway for sponsoring the podcast, and thank you again for your time, and I hope to see you this time next week.